everybody, it's Mrs. Parker. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make some chewy oatmeal cookies. Alright, so to get started, we are going to start here. I have combined here in my bowl 2 sticks or a half a pound of butter, along with 1 cup of light brown sugar and a half a cup of white sugar. Okay, I also have prepared in advance 2 eggs with 2 tablespoons of milk and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Here for my dry ingredients, I have 1 3/4 cup of AP flour. I also have added to that my salt and my baking powder, my baking soda. So with that, I'm going to mix that up so it's nice and evenly distributed. Okay, then I'm going to show you my garnishes. So for my garnishes here, I have 3 cups of rolled oats. I have 2 cups of chocolate chips. And then I can choose to put in whatever kind of dry fruits I want. So here I happen to have in the cupboard a mixture of cranberries and some dried apricots. I'm gonna set those aside. And then this recipe uses some coconut. If you don't like coconut, you can omit this altogether. Here I actually found some toasted almonds. I like almonds in my cookies. You don't have to add that if you don't want to. So here I'm going to combined, it's going to be a full cup of these dry ingredients here. So I happen to do a half a cup of each. All right, so let's get started with our mixing. So I'm going to take my sugar and my butter. My butter is at a nice room temperature. And I'm combining these together using a wooden spoon. And as I have said in previous videos, I like to use spoons or mix by hand, because not everybody has mixers at home, right? So it's good to be able to show you how to do things with some basic tools that many of us would maybe have in our house. Sometimes to actually mix things like this a little faster, believe it or not, I use a potato masher, and that will help break up the butter and help to kind of mash it together. So the reason why I'm using, though, a wooden spoon and not a rubber spatula is because my wooden spoon is going to allow me to really get in there and press and be very aggressive to help get the mixing process going. So now it's starting to come together. And so the next step of after it comes together, it's actually going to look very much like wet sand, right? So think about going down to the front of the shoreline and how wet and compact that sand looks like, almost like paste, right? So once we get to that point, we know we need to still mix a few minutes more. And what's going to happen from here is right now, hope you can see that it's kind of really pasty, right? That wet sand down by the shoreline. Most of my butter is mixed in, and it's still very much darker in color. So I want to make sure I get out any lumps of the brown sugar. Sorry, I'm sliding all over the place here. Get all those lumps of the brown sugar out. All right, and really get in there and mix it up so that it, just stop and pick that up, so that it starts to get nice and fluffy. Okay, so the next ingredient that we're going to add here, once I get to my full point of being fluffy, is I'm going to add my eggs with my milk and my vanilla. So whenever I have more than 1 egg, I want to add it in batches. So in this case, I only have 2 eggs, so I'm going to add them in one at a time. And if I had maybe 4 eggs or 6 eggs, because it was a larger batch, I would add them in maybe 2 at a time. So the larger the batches, you just want to maybe quarter it or half it. Just depends how many eggs are going in. Don't mind that tapping in the background. That's my dog walking around, curious to see what's happening. I think we almost hear her in every video I do. It's hopping around. All right, so now we're nice and fluffy here. So what we're gonna do is I'm actually going to go get a larger bowl, because I just realized by the time we get to the end of this procedure, I am not gonna have enough space in here. So I will be right back. All right, so we're at the point now where our butter and sugar are getting really fluffy. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in my first egg. So just kind of eyeball it in. And I want to make sure that the egg is at room temperature, because if it is not, what will end up happening is my whole mixture will actually break apart. So because I'm adding a liquid into my fat, you're going to see first it's going to kind of, again, break apart and be like a big mess. So we want to just take our time, emulsify that back in. Just stop and scrape this down. So once that's mixed back in, it should kind of look a little fluffy again. And I'll be ready to go ahead and add in my next egg. Okay, so then next egg goes in. Again, I'm going to break that up, slowly stir it in. So we're going to mix together our fat and our sugar as the creaming method, and then we're going to add in our eggs. And then the last part is adding in our dry ingredients. Okay. So the next part of what we're going to add in is our dry ingredients. Fold this in. Now I don't want to overmix at this stage because I still have all my other dry ingredients to add in. So I just kind of want to get it together. Put everything into a larger bowl because unfortunately I didn't have a big enough clear bowl. So what I'm going to do right now to this, I know it's kind of hard to see, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in all of those rolled oats. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add in all of those chocolate chips. Okay, if you don't like chocolate, don't put chocolate in, just leave it to dried fruit. If you don't like dried fruit, leave the dried fruit out and just do the chocolate, right? You do whatever it is that you really like for the flavoring. Here I'm going to add in my almonds, and I'm also going to add in my coconut. All right, so through the magic of TV, here we are, we're back. This is our completed mixture. So it does get quite bulky because of all of those rolled oats that are in there and all the other garnishes that we put in. So it will definitely become a little bit firmer and harder to handle, but you don't want to overmix it because you want to make sure not to develop too much gluten. So let's talk about our baking parchment paper. Put them onto my baking pans. I'm going to show you two different things that I'm going to be measuring here. So I have two choices here of my scoops, right? So you can see there's definitely a different size. So you want to choose your cookie scoop or your portion scoop or your ice cream scooper based on the size of the final cookie that you want. So considering that when you do scoop them, they are going to spread a little bit. So here for my taster batch, I'm going to take the larger of the scoops. Okay, I'm going to scoop one whole scoop. So I'm going to dip into the bowl, drag it up the side of the bowl to make sure I get one nice, flat, even scoop. And the reason why I'm doing that is because when I go to bake it, I want to make sure that I have the same size. When I bake them, if they're all different sizes, they're going to bake at different rates. So some of them may get burnt, some of them may be underdone or overdone. So I want to make sure I keep them all at consistent sizes. For when I'm in my bakery and I go to make my baked goods for selling, I want to make sure that they're the same size, so this way when a customer gets a cookie, it looks the same either way. There's never one cookie that's bigger than another. So here they are on the pan, and again, just like our last video, we left space around them so that they can expand, and also so that the airflow can get around it and they can bake evenly. So that's what we'll do for baking. What I want to show you is I'm also making these in advance for the holidays. So I'm going to make these a little bit smaller because I'm going to make cookie trays. So what I'm going to do now, what I'm showing you, is what we would do in the bakery. And even when we're in school and we're mass producing these for various occasions, we actually will scoop them onto a sheet pan. And we're doing this for the purpose of making them advance and being able to freeze them. So if you notice, I'm not leaving any space because I need to just get them nice and cold, right? So I'm going to actually put them in the refrigerator or even the freezer. to allow them to set up and get nice and hard. And this way then I can throw them all into a Ziploc bag once they've gotten all frozen through. So I'm not baking them on the pan side by side by side. I'm doing this for production and storage reasons. So I wanted to show you these two different things because if you want to get ahead on your cookies for the holiday season, you can go ahead and make up all your doughs now, 2 weeks in advance. And then when you're ready to, when you have them all ready and you're ready to bake them fresh, then you go ahead and you just spend a full day baking, right? The mixing's already done, and then you go ahead and do a full day baking. All right, so I'll just finish up one more here. Okay, and then I would continue doing this and fill up the whole pan. So this size cookie, right, will go just about another ½ inch bigger, right? So when I bake these, they're still going to be bite size, and this way I can put a nice variety together in a gift package to give somebody. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get these cookies into the oven. All right, so I finished scooping all of my cookies. Believe it or not, there are 100 cookies right here on this tray and a half. If I had not done my test pieces with the larger scoops, I would say roughly that this whole recipe makes, let's see, that's 100, probably about 115 to 120 cookies. So this here, they just came out of the oven. This is the larger of the scoop that I used. A 1 ounce scoop versus a ½ ounce scoop. So what I'm looking for here, you see that they've gotten nice and golden around the edges. The center is set, right? So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I take my cookies off of my sheet pan right away, and I can put them right onto the table because this is going to continue to stay hot and I don't want the cookies to cook any further. So here they are, nice and cooked, nice and browned on the bottom, nice golden edges around the outside, smelling really delicious. And that there is your chewy oatmeal cookie. Again, the variations were that we added in chocolate chips, cranberries, dried apricots, coconuts, sliced almonds, so there was a whole variety. This is kind of like everything but the kitchen sink kind of a cookie. So if you have different dried fruit or different nuts or different maybe pieces of candy you'd like to add, all of those would work for this. Just make sure that this recipe does get used with that amount of the rolled oats, and then you can go ahead and add anything else you'd like. All right, so again, that was $3.75 for about 14 minutes. 7 minutes, I rotated the pan halfway and then let it cook for the remaining 14 minutes. So thank you for being so patient and listening to my demo, and sorry about these dogs in the background. They're a little noisy, but hopefully won't happen again in the future. All right, enjoy your cookies. Have a great night, everybody.